Mosaic is brought to you by these generous sponsors and underwriters. Learn how you can support Mosaic by visiting jewishpalmbeach.org. Good morning, I'm Barbara Kay, here with Susan Portnoy, and welcome to Mosaic, Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County's weekly news magazine show.
Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks is one of the world's most vocal and sought-after voices on Jewish faith and identity. Today, we have the chance to get Rabbi Sacks' unique take on the Jewish community of today and tomorrow. We'll be right back with Mosaic after this brief commercial break.
Live the way you want to live, in the luxury you deserve. At Morse Life's Tradition, choose a floor plan that suits your lifestyle and make it your own. Impeccable service and the gold standard in specialized signature healthcare. Live healthy. Live happy. At Tradition is where the living is easy, every day and in every way. Your home. Morse Life. Tradition.
Please consider supporting Mosaic's generous sponsors at Bruce Gendelman Insurance Services. Visit gendelman.com today for your expert consultation.
The all-new Bremen Porsche, a world-class experience.
Club Bremen is amazing.
World-class dedication.
It's the most exciting thing. I recommend it to anybody. I don't care what your skill level is.
World-class excitement.
I think it's a great brand. These cars are designed to go this fast.
World-class performance.
They took me out to the track to race the car. Anyone that wants to get a Porsche, Bremen is the place to go.
The all-new Bremen Porsche, a world-class experience.
Jewish Federation is rolling out the red carpet for you on March 8th for one night, a celebration of impact. Featured speaker Mark Platt is an award-winning theater, film, and TV producer whose projects include Wicked, La La Land, and many other modern-day classics. One night is taking place at the Palm Beach County Convention Center and features special receptions for Jewish Professionals Network and major donors to Federation. Learn more and RSVP now at jewishpalmbeach.org/one night. We're here with Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks. I am thrilled to welcome you to Mosaic.
Well, it's just great to be with you, to be part of this beautiful place with this wonderful community.
Well, we are really honored to have you join us. What was it in your background that made you devote your life's work to Judaism?
Well, it was odd, really, because I never intended to be a rabbi. It was not on the radar at all. But I was studying philosophy at Cambridge University in England, and at the age of 20 with an awful lot of questions, because in those days being a philosopher and being religious was a contradiction in terms. They didn't exist in Britain. And so I didn't think there was anyone I could ask in Britain, so I spent a summer in the States in 1968 traveling around meeting a lot of rabbis, asking them a lot of questions. And two names kept coming up in the conversation. They would speak in awe of Rabbi Soloveitchik, Joseph Soloveitchik, the greatest Jewish thinker of that time, and of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who was the greatest Jewish leader at that time. So as a 20-year-old full of chutzpah, I said, I'm going to meet these people. It took a long, long time. But before I left America to come back to university, I spent serious time with both of them, life-changing encounters. And it was Rabbi Soloveitchik who set the intellectual challenge. But it was the Lubavitcher Rebbe who set the personal challenge. Go and lead. And eventually, he just told me I had to train rabbis and be a rabbi. And I had one great advantage. I married the most wonderful woman in the world, Elaine, who put up with this because she never dreamt when she married me she was about to become a Rebbitzin. It wasn't our agenda at all. But when you meet a great man like the Lubavitcher Rebbe and he says, do this, you kind of do it because he's just a very wise person and you trust his judgment.
And obviously inspirational. So you managed to become the chief rabbi of the UK. How did you get that role?
Not sure. You know, I was only the 6th chief rabbi since 1845. They've served on average almost 30 years. So my 22 years was quite short, really. When one is about to retire, they set up a set of committees, and they take about 2 years. And I'm not sure why they chose me, but I felt very touched and very moved. And we really found, Elaine and myself, that it was an incredible privilege, because you really can make a difference if you're in that kind of role.
I'd like to ask you about that. What are some of the duties of the chief rabbi?
Well, I mean, the obvious ones. You're the rabbi's rabbi. You're the one they turn to. You are there to help them if they're having problems with their congregations or with their career. You are the ambassador for the Jewish community vis-a-vis the outside world, vis-a-vis the media, the government, the royal family. And in a sense, also, you're kind of CEO of Anglo Jewry Incorporated. You kind of set the agenda. We wanted to strengthen Jewish life. And we knew we had to do that by building lots of Jewish day schools. So we built more day schools in the 20 years I was chief rabbi than in the previous 350 years of Anglo Jewry. And we really created a much more educated and committed community.
You also have under your leadership, the UK instituted the Holocaust Memorial Day. That's quite powerful.
Well, look, the fact is that I never realized this came with the job, but I got to know very well the 4 prime ministers under whom I served: John Major, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, David Cameron. We became actually personal friends. And it was a strange relationship because I wasn't really asking them to help me on matters with the Jewish community. I was there to help them when they wanted to discuss certain policy issues where they wanted a completely outside view. Now, you can't get more outside than ask the rabbi. So we became very close friends, and that's how we really took Judaism into the corridors of power in a sense, but into the public domain. I think people in Britain didn't know much about what Jews do. So I did a lot of television and radio and writing in the national press to open us up to the British public.
I heard a story, and I'm not sure if it's correct, but a while back, Prince Harry, when he, in his younger days, donned a Nazi costume, and there was an uproar. And can you tell us that story?
Look, he didn't know what a Nazi uniform was because in his school nobody had ever taught him about the Holocaust.
Which goes to the point that...
And Elaine and I were out of the country at the time, and as we landed, somebody showed us a newspaper in which the scandal had blown up, and Prince Charles had said to Prince Harry, "You are going to go round to the chief rabbi and apologize." Well, that's the first we knew about it. When we arrived back home from the airport, waiting for us was a long handwritten letter from Prince Harry apologizing at length. And then he came round a week or two later, and we sat, just the 3 of us, Elaine and myself and him, for an hour. And I really warmed to him, you know, all this fuss about something he really hadn't realized at all. Of course, I did later get invited to his school to teach the kids about the Holocaust. But it was that kind of thing where, once in a while you have to pinch yourself and say, is this real or am I just dreaming it? But there were a lot of those moments.
That's terrific. We have to take a break. We'll be right back with Rabbi Sacks after this brief message. Coming up, more from our interview with Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks.
Please consider supporting Mosaic sponsors at Lesser Landy & Smith. Visit lesserlawfirm.com to learn more.
Your vehicle deserves world-class service. Here at Brayman Motor Cars, you can drop off your car with confidence that you will receive the highest quality service from our certified technicians and Brayman Motor Cars staff. Take advantage of our complimentary cafe, Starbucks coffee, and customer lounge equipped with Wi-Fi while you wait for your vehicle. Yet another reason why you should join Club Brayman. A world-class experience is the Brayman Motor Cars difference. Now at West Palm Beach and Jupiter.
Please consider supporting Mosaic sponsors at Lesser Landy & Smith. Visit lesserlawfirm.com to learn more.
Jewish Federation is rolling out the red carpet for you on March 8th for one night, a celebration of impact. Featured speaker Mark Platt is an award-winning theater, film, and TV producer whose projects include Wicked, La La Land, and many other modern-day classics. One night is taking place at the Palm Beach County Convention Center and features special receptions for Jewish Professionals Network and major donors to Federation. Learn more and RSVP now at jewishpalmbeach.org/one-night.
Our lives are made of memories, but when those memories start to fade, your happiness shouldn't follow. At Morse Life's Memory Care Residences, your loved one is safe and secure with the very best care from our staff who are specially trained to work with memory loss. The greatest luxury of all is the peace of mind that awaits at the gold standard Memory Care Residences at Morse Life. Find the life you love again. Secure your lease today. The Memory Care Residences at Morse Life.
We're back with Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, and we're talking about Judaism. And question, how does the practice of Judaism differ from the UK to the United States?
A whole set of differences. Number one, there are 20 times as many Jews in America as there are in Britain. I'm sure there are more Jews in this area of Palm Beach and Boca Raton than there are in the whole of Britain. We're a small community, less than 300,000, so we're small. But then Britain itself is quite small, so since they're all concentrated, especially in two major centres, London and Manchester, we are a very close-knit community. And you can bring the leaders of the community together very fast and formulate a policy that you will know will be carried through. So there's an advantage and a disadvantage. We're quite small. The second thing is that because America is a land of immigrants, really, Jews came here from somewhere else, but so did everyone else.
Right.
Whereas Britain's a very traditional society, so Jews became quite British. Changed their names, dressed in a very English way, acted in a very English way. And they were altogether more low profile than Jews in the States. We've changed that a little bit, but it's still, you know, you'd be surprised. You could be friendly with somebody for 30 years without knowing they were Jewish. That's the kind of thing that happens. And thirdly, Anglo Jewry is just a little more traditional than American Jewry. It's probably 60 to 70% Orthodox, which the States is not.
That's true.
Yeah.
What's the future of non-Orthodox Jews?
I think that Jews should never pronounce on the future, because things come along to surprise us. So I think this year, if I'm not mistaken, 2018, is the 200th anniversary of the first ever Reform congregation. the temple in Hamburg, opened in 1818. Now, the one major variant that that temple made over traditional texts was they took out any reference to returning to Israel. They said, you can build a temple in Hamburg, you don't need to go to Jerusalem. So Reform in those days took Israel out of Jewish identity, but I'm sure today it's very much a central part of Jewish identity. So I never try and predict. Jews tend to be exposed to more unexpected stuff than almost anyone else. And they respond in really unpredictable ways. Could anyone have predicted, for instance, that Jerusalem, one of the world's oldest cities, would today be identified by Time magazine as one of the major emergent centers of information technology? So you've got the Alt-Neuland, the old new coming together. Nothing in Jewish history is predictable. So I think that the non-Orthodox denominations will do things that will surprise us, and many of them will delight us.
I like that answer. That's encouraging. One cause you're dedicated to is the leadership of our younger generation. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
Well, you know, I mentioned to you that when I was 20, the Lubavitcher Rebbe challenged me to be a leader. So I kind of pay that forward. I go around the world speaking to young people and challenging them to lead. I think leading brings out the best in young people. When you're just doing things because your parents did and your grandparents did, they're not really yours.
But how do you inspire them?
Pardon?
How do you inspire them?
I try and answer the question, why? Why are we Jewish? And I can't give that an easy answer, though I do have a little whiteboard animation that your viewers might want to watch called Why I Am a Jew. It only takes 6 minutes and we'll explain the whole story. But I think it is our task to be ambassadors for God and for the faith of Abraham and Sarah, that we don't have to accept the evil and suffering in the world. We can protest it. We can change it. Judaism is not a religion of acceptance. Most religions are. Judaism is a religion of protest. Abraham, when he hears God saying, I'm about to destroy the cities of the plain, says, shall the judge of all the earth not do justice? Nobody ever spoke to God that way before. It's a very Jewish way of looking. And that is why, instead of accepting things as they are, because that's the will of God, you find Jews disproportionately as doctors fighting disease, or educators fighting ignorance, or economists fighting poverty, or therapists fighting depression and despair. So I think that's really what Judaism is. It's a protest voice. And the other thing I define it as is the voice of hope in the conversation of humankind. There were two great ancient civilizations, Greece and ancient Israel, Athens and Jerusalem. The Greeks gave the world tragedy. It's a wonderful genre, Aeschylus, Sophocles, and of course it comes to England in the form of Shakespeare. There is a tragic view of life. I call Judaism the principled rejection of tragedy in the name of hope. Oh. And it is not surprising or accidental that the national anthem of the State of Israel is Hatikva, the hope.
On that note, we need to take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Coming up, more from our interview with Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks.
The tower at Morse Life has standards so high, we had to invent them. Call home a luxury rental community with a full continuum of unmatched high-quality care at your doorstep and a rich, fulfilling lifestyle catered for you. Enjoy every day with a full menu of activities and 5-star services. Elevate your thinking about how you deserve to live now and all the beautiful extras that are yours at the Live-In Tower at Morse Life. It just feels like home. Secure your lease today.
Jewish Federation is rolling out the red carpet for you on March 8th for one night. A celebration of impact. Featured speaker Mark Platt is an award-winning theater, film, and TV producer whose projects include Wicked, La La Land, and many other modern-day classics. One Night is taking place at the Palm Beach County Convention Center and features special receptions for Jewish Professionals Network and major donors to Federation. Learn more and RSVP now at jewishpalmbeach.org/onenight.
The all-new Bremen Porsche, a world-class experience.
Club Raymond is amazing.
World-class dedication.
It's the most exciting thing. I recommend it to anybody. I don't care what your skill level is.
World-class excitement.
I think it's a great brand. These cars are designed to go this fast.
World-class performance.
They took me out to the track to race the car. Anyone that wants to get a Porsche, Raymond's the place to go.
The all-new Bremen Porsche, a world-class experience.
Please consider supporting Mosaic's generous sponsors at Bruce Gendelman Insurance Services. Visit gendelman.com today for your expert consultation.
We're back with Rabbi Lord Sacks. You mentioned something called the whiteboard that you're using now. It's an animation tool for teaching Judaism. Why are you using that?
We discovered it's the best way of communicating ideas in a very concentrated form, in a way that people can really internalize the message. One of the reasons that I retired early as chief rabbi was I felt in an age of global communication and media, we had to use those to communicate good news, because the bad guys are using it to communicate bad news. And so we've done a lot with YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and the various social media. And of course the question arises, how do you communicate ideas in the short attention span that these media have? And the whiteboard animation, where they hear you speaking but they never see you, but everything you say is turned into a kind of cartoon, and at the end the camera pans back and you see the whole structure of the argument. That's incredibly powerful. It is the most effective method.
That's it. I've watched them. I think they're very effective for today's youth. Speaking about youth, the Pew Report released the fact that young Jews are walking away from Judaism and interfaith marriage is on the rise.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is happening?
Because I think we haven't answered the question that young people ask, which is, why should I be Jewish? You see, for 2,000-3,000 years, Jews never needed to ask that question. Why were they Jewish? Because their parents were Jewish, their grandparents were Jewish. If you live in a traditional age, you do things because that's the tradition. Today, we are not in a traditional age, but a non or even anti-traditional age. And so we have to answer the question, why? And I don't think people have done that. So I wrote a book which seems to have had an impact on some young Jews, called A Letter in the Scroll, which is my personal answer. And we took that book, which is probably 80 or 90,000 words, and turned it into a 6-minute whiteboard animation called Why I Am a Jew. So we can do that answer why, and given that between 1 and 2 million people have seen that, young Jews have seen that, we know it's been quite effective.
How do you see the trends, though, of intermarriage impacting Jewish identity in the future?
Jewish identity is going to be a lot more fluid, and it's going to be much more open to choice. But speaking personally, I think Judaism should welcome everyone with open arms and just speak to the better angels of their nature. Build Judaism into your life, and you will be transformed. Take one very simple example. Our kids are actually suffering from overexposure to these highly addictive social media and smartphones. We know, because the latest research tells us, that levels of happiness among young people have been pretty static for a long time, and at the year 2012 they suddenly go down. Ditto with depressive illness until 2012, pretty calm, and then zoom up. And this was done by a lady called Jean Twenge at San Diego University, who's just brought out the research. It's a book called iGen. And the more time kids spend on social media, the unhappier they get. But it's addictive, so they can't tear themselves away from it. So one thing we have is called Shabbat. No smartphones. So there you are, 3,300 years ago, Moses gave us the Sabbath to liberate us from Pharaoh, and now we have the Sabbath to liberate us from smartphones. But it will change their lives, because instead of getting on the phone, they'll go out and they'll go to the synagogue and they will meet their friends, and they will be brought back into the face-to-face relationships that we need.
The us.
Yeah, the us.
The us, as you speak about in your TED Talk, which I would appreciate you discussing. You talk about the us of relationship, the us of identity, and the us of responsibility.
Yeah.
And that will help us with our future.
Yeah.
You want to discuss this?
Well, look, I was originally due to talk to TED on this book, Not in God's Name, about religious violence in the Middle East, but I suddenly realized, I picked up from the TED speakers a feeling of real anxiety and fear about the future. And they had called last year's TED, The Future You. And I suddenly said, that's the problem. It should be the future us. We are social animals. The first time the words not good appear in the Bible are, it is not good to be alone. Now, you know, what do people worship nowadays? The self. My Facebook profile, my selfie. And that's why people are so unhappy, because happiness is always in the us, not in the me. And that's really why I did that TED Talk. It was kind of spontaneous decision, but it seems to have worked because they quite enjoyed it.
Yes. How optimistic are you for future generations and the continuity of their Jewish identity?
I am somebody who always insists on a distinction between optimism and hope. They sound similar, but they're not. Optimism is the belief things are going to get better. Hope is the belief that if we work hard enough, we can make things better. No Jew looking back on our history can be an optimist, but no Jew worthy of the name ever gives up hope. And that is my message. Stay hopeful and work hard to make it come true.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks.
Mosaic is brought to you by these generous sponsors and underwriters.